All right, so let's talk about pops and clicks. Now, I'm going to try to avoid going over some of the many other points that have been raised very well in articles and videos throughout the years. I want to cover some of the things that may help you avoid pops and clicks that are, let's say, maybe not discussed as often, or maybe you might find a new idea here. While here at WAM Engineering, we certainly haven't studied the science of pops and clicks before, I'm going to suggest that there's possibly 3 different sources of pops, clicks, and noise. The first is, of course, the obvious. There's debris in the groove, and when the stylus hits that, you get your pop or your click, and voila. Second is that there is noise built into the groove, that this is done at the time of cutting and becomes then part of the plating process and pressing, and there it's in your record. This is also entirely true. This happens. Then the third, and perhaps the least, as far as I know, least studied, is the discharge of static electricity. I won't go into this too much, but obviously we know that as the stylus plays the records, a electrostatic charge builds up in the vinyl. And depending on the materials that constitute the stylus, the epoxy, the cantilever, and the platter material itself, and how well that's grounded, if at all, a discharge can happen, and a discharge can be an obvious pop, or it could be a low-level, constant hiss sound. Again, this is not an area that we've studied much, but I do know that, and here's the first tip, that using an ionizer of some sort, like this one from DS Audio, I know it's kind of pricey, but there are less expensive options, to reduce the buildup, or even eliminate the buildup of that electrostatic charge on your record, does reduce surface noise, but it also decreases the likelihood of the record attracting dust in the first place. So, and to me, that's one of the greatest benefits of using one of these ionizers, is that my records don't get dusty unless I leave them out. They don't attract dust. Another way of avoiding attracting dust is, well, your record brush, never touch the bristles. When you touch the bristles, you transfer your finger oils to the bristles. The finger oils will act like a nice adhesive for your whatever dust that these bristles now come in contact with, and it's going to be a tough time getting that dust, which is now on the bristles and stuck to it because of the oils, to be removed from the bristles. So that dust then hangs out on that bristle and will find its way into the groove. So, of course, will your finger oils. Do not touch these bristles with your fingers. I also recommend that you replace these once every year or so that you can make sure that these bristles always stay dry of any oils. We also want to make sure that we're not unknowingly putting any substances into the groove that could later become a click or a pop. So I recommend doing a little experiment with whatever materials you use to clean your stylus, these fluids right here. Take a drop or two and drop the fluid onto a mirror and then let it evaporate. Now, once it evaporates, I want you to take a look, take that mirror and go under strong light and look at it from different angles. Do you see material left behind? Of course, this needs to be a clean mirror to start with. Do you see any material left behind? If there's material left behind, well, same thing could happen on your stylus, and then that eventually ends up in the groove. Do that enough times, and you build up a problem for yourself. This principle also applies to gel cleaners for styluses. If you use one of these, again, go to a clean mirror, take the gel cleaner, and with a good amount of pressure, swipe on the mirror. And now look, did the gel cleaner leave any deposits on that mirror? If it is, you can bet that those are ending up on your stylus. If they're in their stylus, they're probably going to be deposited to your groove as well. If you do this test with your gel cleaner and you see that there's no transfer of material, that's great. But don't rest on your laurels there. check it again in a year. We know for a fact that the oligomers that these are made from are a long chain oligomer, but those chains can shorten over time. And as those chains shorten, the bonds become looser. So if you do this test and it comes out successful, great, but repeat it 6-12 months later and continue testing it until you see the material being transferred to the mirror. Once you do, replace it. I won't cover in this video any of the ideas of how best to use a brush. I've done another video on how to properly, or at least how we here at WAM Engineering clean our styluses. You can watch that video on your own. And I'm sure that there's plenty of other great advice out there on how to keep your records free of pops and clicks. I just don't know whether some of these ideas may have been shared as frequently. You might ask, well, once you have the problem of having the pops and clicks, what is the best way to remove them? Well, I can tell you certainly what we do here at WAM Engineering. We're strong believers in cavitation cleaning, and the Kearmas audio system is definitely our favorite. Takes extra work, yes it does, but man, it is effective. And it's absolutely remarkable once you've gone through that process, how much better that record sounds. Not just in terms of the reduction in pops and clicks, but we've heard improvements in sound staging and imaging, and overall frequency extension. It's quite an experience. So perhaps something here was helpful for you. I hope so. Until next week on the next Soundbite. See ya.